Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has signed into law an anti-homosexuality bill that has been condemned internationally. It's among the strictest anti-LGBT legislation in the world. Homosexual acts are already illegal in Uganda. Now, this new law tackles different aspects related with sexual minorities and homosexuality, including the idea of promotion if you're funding an NGO, for instance, that is dealing with such activities. You might be prosecuted or arrested. People will be sent to prison or might be sent to prison for life for committing sexual acts if they are of the same sex. It covers a wide range of aspects, including what are called aggravated offences, which is sexual abuse against children or other vulnerable people. Now, let's get a reaction. We're now joined via Zoom by Corlett Letlojane, Executive Director at Human Rights Institute of South Africa. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Now, this is amongst the strictest anti-LGBTQI legislations in the world we've just heard. Let's get your reaction, Corlett, to the signing of this anti-homosexuality bill into law.
I think the signing of this anti-LGBTI into law in Uganda is really demonstrated that the government of Uganda is not willing to cooperate with the citizens in Africa, as well as the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, a resolution which is calling for member states to implement or domesticate laws that are enabling or that follows a human rights approach for protection of all in their countries without any discrimination. By coming up with such a law, it means that sexual orientation, identity persons, they'll be targeted not only by law enforcement officers, but even they'll be alienated by citizens. They will be not entitled to receive services, health services, and it will be something that the law promotes, because if you are seen to be providing such support, even education institutions, they will find themselves, in contradiction with the laws of the country.
I mean, even as early as last week, we heard already that people are already being discriminated against, in as far as some being, physically assaulted and people fearing for their lives. We know that the Western countries have condemned this. But what do you think needs to be done, particularly as it relates to the safety of those in Uganda?
I think states such as South Africa, I think many NGOs have already started approaching the government of South Africa, because we have this right guaranteed in the Constitution, and that Constitution does not necessarily give something new or recognize something that or promotes homosexuality or persons to become lesbians in the country. I don't think there's any understanding regarding the human rights in Uganda. I think the government of South Africa, as among states, even we've seen others in Namibia, we are seeing Angola as well, we've seen Botswana as well. Many countries are beginning to familiarize themselves with the principles of human dignity, that no one must be subjected to inhuman and degrading treatment. And for them to come up with that law, it's a serious violations of human rights. South Africa's role is key, and I've seen even some opposition parties like Good, they've written statement, they have approached the Deputy President in South Africa to intervene in engaging with their peer member states, because as it is now, the courts in Angola will have to enforce what the laws of the country is prescribing, meaning that they will not go below or disregard where the laws of the country stipulate. That poses a serious danger, and movement of people from Uganda will be flooding to countries like South Africa seeking asylum. And we have a situation in this country where xenophobia is very high, where some nationals, for example, from Zimbabwe, are threatened with deportation. The country is no longer going to renew the special dispensation here in South Africa. So we have this very serious, very negligent, if I may say that, law which the country is creating conflict, and the country is also not a state party to the African Court on Human and People's Rights, where the citizens actually can approach this regional forum to seek redress. So it means all those violations of human rights committed in the country, the citizens cannot go anywhere, they cannot go far. And also we are calling on the African Commission. The African Commission has also has some of the reasons why organizations, some of them from Uganda or around the world, who have applied for observer status and indicating that they are, working in areas where sexual orientation and gender identity is promoted or protected. There's a need for these dialogues, educational programs to continue, so that state parties such as in Uganda, who are now even pointing figures as an international community, stating things that are completely out of hand, very disappointing that they're not going to be compelled with what is this charity, some funding that has been promised to be given to the government or to assist citizens in the country. So they see, aid as a manipulation by those countries to promote that and to insist that sexual orientation and gender identity contravenes the African values. I don't think they understand the African values themselves. The African values do not discriminate upon. And the only discrimination that we see is when these definitions, where sexual orientation has received these definitions before. There was never an issue or a problem, discriminating upon person just because of their identity, based on their, how they sexuality or how they, present themselves in life regarding, choosing partners of same sex in their lives. So we did not have such. So we need to go deeper into this, because this commotion and confusion is spreading around, and people are discriminated, and not only discriminated, but targeted. People are even murdered. We see these types of conducts even in our country, where many women who are lesbians are being, murdered only because they have this sexual orientation and gender identity, which is different from heteronormative persons.
Corlett, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Corlett Letlojane is an executive director at the Human Rights Institute of South Africa, of course, responding there to Uganda's President Museveni signing into law an anti-homosexuality bill that has been condemned internationally.